Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So this is in regards to the question for the sister that is trying to find resources on women scholars in different ages or different centuries and within, of course, the Islamic history. So I would like to refer you to this book. This book, he basically did the job for you. Really simple. It's in 5 volumes and it's available in PDF. Umar Rida Kahala, he basically just combined the famous women in the Muslim and the Arabic world. And you would go into his book and he did the job for you in where you could see he would get the figure and then he will basically just tell you the information about her and then he would basically give you the resource for that. So let's see right there in where he will tell you this was in Safwat al-Safwa and then this one was Tarikh ibn Asakir and he'll basically give you the resource exactly where it's coming from. In other words, he'll give you the figure, tell you the information, tell you where to get the information from. And if there's more details, he'll basically put it for you as a reference on where to go. Now, the other person that you definitely would want to turn to, even though if you go to this one, you really went to, let's say, the main keys in finding the resources because he'll basically tell you exactly, here's a daw al and give you that information. And you could just go to this daw al literally go to the book and actually get the exact figure, the biography for that person, the information that they gathered, all this information. That's basically it. Same thing for Izzirikli. Izzirikli also did the job. The book is, well, it's big in size, at least in the book size, but the book is also really doing the same thing in where it's basically, here we go, you could see it's only in 8 volumes. And then what's really nice about it, you can go to the book and he's this Lebanese scholar, well, Syrian Lebanese scholar, and same thing in where he'll give you the resource and at the bottom, he'll basically tell you the bibliography for that, where that reference is coming from, how to go to that person, and so forth. And of course, certainly included women as well. So you could see, you would say Mu'jam al-Matbu'at, and he'll tell you exactly the page for it and where to go, and would even give you this information right there at the bottom. So really easy to get to and not hard at all. You can take those resources, go to these resources, and basically use these resources that are in the footnote to help you go through all these books that might actually be hard to get to if you didn't really know who they were. So one thing I would like to say, if you go to, like I said, you go to Al-A'lam Lizirikli, or let's say you go for Umar Rida Kahala, he's going to give you all the details. Now, let me talk about this book right there. Akram Nadwi, so yes, he does have the Muhaddithat, definitely. It's a huge book, but unfortunately, what he really did, he didn't do much research in it. I would say he really copied and pasted what was in these books. So literally, he would just copy paste. Let's say he would go for Daw al he would literally take the whole volume or sometimes the whole uh, the whole thing that was written about that figure and literally copy paste it from this book and that book and that book and that book. So he would take all the resources, all the information, literally copy paste from, let's say, Daw al let's say Nujum al-Zahira, let's say um, let's say Usd al-Ghaba, and he will just take the whole name, take the whole thing that was written, copy it and paste it within his book, and many times not even mention the resource, and that's actually a big problem. So that's why you would see the book as really coming out like a huge, what was it, like 40 volumes or something? Well, obviously, because he was literally copying and pasting every single thing that was mentioned in these books and not necessarily doing any research in order to, I guess, combine or do any research to see the information that sometimes may be contradictory from one book to another. So he will just basically mention the whole thing. If it's in ضوء اللامع, so he'll take the whole thing. So in this book, what you really have, it's really simple. He went to معجم this أعلام النساء and really went to these resources and the other resources and then copied and pasted it in there. And then that's why the book came out as a huge book, because what it really is, it's taking a whole volume and another volume of each and every single book and just put it inside that book. So you would basically have this huge book right there in where it contains all that information without any research, unfortunately. So this is I guess he did a good job in translation, but I think it's important to review a lot of what was being said, and I think it's important to also keep in mind that unfortunately it should have actually been a work where it is reviewed. It is not just copy and paste, but something in where there was research and I guess in just combining what was written and just putting it in there. And sometimes not even mentioning the reference is a form of the least to call it plagiarism, or let's say افتقر إلى الدقة. So just wanted to mention that one. But like I said, it's going to be really easy if you were to go to this book. You're going to get everything. But keep in mind that not every single woman that is mentioned in Alam al-Nisa is necessarily relating to women that are considered of as important figures. And you're not really going to have a lot of women. If you are to talk about women where we know their history, they're going to be really, really few, because you could see that the amount of information that was written about these women, a lot of it, let's look at this one right there, and we're just look at this one. So here's Barira Mawlat Aisha, who was actually, of course, Sahabiya. You could see أسد الغابة الاستيعاب, and he basically went right there, تذهيب, and Sir Alam al-Nubala, and then basically tells you where to find her. But here's one thing, in where not every single person, like I said, in this book is necessarily a scholar, necessarily an important figure. It's important to mention. Sometimes he would mention figures that have nothing to do with ilm, really. And I went through all these women, volume after volume, to see about these women. You could see most of the times it really doesn't have enough information. So it would just say, for example, right there, تعبرت معه في كوخ كانت توقظه وتقول يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله قد سارت القافلة قد سارت القافلة. That's basically it. That was all the information that was known about her. That was it. So when you speak about some of those figures, you might need to just go over, I guess, one volume after another, just searching for these women. You could see most of the times they'll be giving you the death date And it's not hard to go over these. I mean, it took me, yeah, a couple days to go over all the volumes and about over each and every single figure, but it wasn't, it was really worth it. One thing to say is that the women, most of the women that were mentioned were either specialized in qira'ah, some were specialized in fiqh, but most women were more into, let's call it the oral transmission of ilm and not necessarily the written. For the ones that were written, there is a very important book in where المؤلفات, let's see right there in this book, in where what he did, here we go, المؤلفات من النساء, and the book is available, and what he did was simply go in to the different women that had ever written, and he only came across with 36 women, in where whether we're talking about finding a resource, a manuscript, a resource that mentioned that they had written, even if he couldn't get a hold of that manuscript, he would still consider that, well, we just know that they were authors. That's all we would know. So by doing all the research throughout history, in other words, going throughout all these women, he only managed to find that there were only 36 women in history that had any type or any form of document, or at least unknown document, even if he couldn't get a hold of it. So I do go in some details in regards to the female scholars. So definitely go to YouTube, go to Aysha Wazwaz and search the female scholars, what happened to the female scholars, and I speak about that in detail. I hope I tried to answer the question, and I hope I was capable of giving you some of the resources. And barakallahu feek.